Today I'm continuing a new series of a deep dive on individual Stardew Valley characters with Linus. So far I've done Shane and Elliot, and don't forget to comment who you want to see next, and the emoji of the day is a sun emoji. Linus is an older villager who lives in a tent west of the regular mines, Adventurers Guild, and Quarry, on the mountains north of Pelican Town, nearby where Robin, Demetrius, Maru, and Sebastian live at the carpentry shop. Personally, Linus is one of my favorite villagers, and I always befriend him, so I thought today would be a good time to learn everything there is to know about him, especially since he won the poll of who to do next for the series in my community center post. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Linus was born on Winter 3rd and doesn't have any family in Pelican Town, and he generally considers himself an outcast of the town who feels unwelcome and misunderstood, but he does wish to be accepted. When you first meet him, Linus doesn't really trust you because he doesn't trust strangers due to past experiences, which he tells you about, where his tent was vandalized or even destroyed. Honestly, I don't blame him for seeing people as untrustworthy after that, because I totally would too. He doesn't really seem to socialize with many of the other villagers either during the festivals. Although he is present, he usually stands alone and away from the main festivities. On the Spirits Eve festival, he does stand beside the wizard though, so he's not always alone. And after Leo moves into Pelican Town, he stands with him at the Feast of the Winter Star as well. The other villagers mention him a few times. Robin brings him up once to say that she doesn't really mind Linus living behind their house, as long as he doesn't bother them, which I can't decide if that's rude or not. And in winter, Penny will sometimes ask you if you know Linus and express sympathy for him because everyone ignores him. Emily expresses sympathy for Linus on Tuesdays in summer by saying, "I wish everyone could learn to be accepting of others." As far as family goes, I did mention that he doesn't really have any, but during Leo's 6-heart event, Linus, Willie, and you succeed in inviting Leo to live on the mainland, where he becomes neighbors with Linus. Linus and Leo bond over their love of nature, with Linus teaching him everything he knows, and Leo occasionally referring to him as Uncle Linus, and I'm not going to lie, that actually does make me tear up quite a lot. Like, the idea of him having this, cutesy little chosen family unit is just so cute that I actually want to cry just thinking about it. Moving on now to his schedule, let's first start by discussing Linus's special scheduled notes. Linus never visits the beach resort on Ginger Island, and if it is raining, that schedule overrides all others no matter what. So for the rain schedule, at 6 a.m. he is inside of his tent. At 9:30 a.m. he exits his tent and stands behind the bush west of his tent. At 10 after 10 he returns to his tent, and at 3 p.m. he exits his tent and stands under the tree west of his tent. At 7 p.m. he returns to his tent, and 11:30 he goes to bed. I wonder how many times in this video or in the schedule section alone I'm going to be saying tent. For his spring schedule, and this applies for all of spring unless it is raining of course, at 6 a.m. he is inside of his tent. At 6:30 he exits his tent and stands behind the bush west of his tent. At 7 a.m. he walks to the west side of the campfire in front of his tent. At 9:30 he walks to the west side of the lake. At 2 p.m. he walks to the west side of the campfire in front of his tent again, and at 7 p.m. he returns to his tent so that at 11 p.m. he can go to bed. On spring 16th, if the bus service is restored, then at 9:50 a.m. he will take the bus to Calico Desert to attend the Desert Festival. At 10:20 a.m. he will stand by a trash can behind the Calico Egg Merchant, and at 1:40 a.m. he will head back to the bus to go home to the valley. For his summer schedule, at 6 a.m. he is inside his tent. At 6:30 he walks to the cliff overlooking the lake east of his tent. At 9:40 a.m. he walks south of the fence and west of the lake. At 1 p.m. he walks further south west of the lake. And at 4 p.m. he walks to the west side of the campfire in front of his tent. At 8 p.m. he walks to the bush west of his tent, and at 8:20 he returns to his tent for the night. During the Green Rain event of Year 1, he stands at the cliff south of his tent at 6 a.m., and at 12 p.m. he will move to the cliff west of his tent. At 5 p.m., he will stand by his campfire, and at 10 p.m., he goes inside his tent to sleep. For his fall schedule, he's inside his tent at 6 a.m. At 7, he exits his tent and stands behind that bush west of his tent until 7:40 when he walks west of his campfire in front of his tent. At precisely 9 a.m., he walks to the spa to stand at the east side of the building. At 2 p.m., he walks to the west side of the lake, and at 6 p.m., he returns to his tent for the night. During the winter, his schedule is pretty short. At 6 a.m., he's inside his tent. At 11 a.m., he exits his tent and stands west of the campfire in front of his tent. At 2 p.m., he walks to the spa and stands inside the entrance. And at 6 p.m., he returns to his tent for the night. On to his gifts section now. This section has a lot more to discuss, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. First, we'll be discussing his responses to his birthday gifts, which depends on his feeling on the item itself. For loved gifts, Linus says, "A birthday gift? That's very kind of you, I love it." And if it's a liked gift, he responds with, "You remembered my birthday, thank you, this is great." For neutral gifts, Linus responds simply with, "Oh, a birthday gift, thank you." For disliked or hated gifts, Linus responds with, "Oh, it's for my birthday? Thanks." Which honestly is the kindest passive-aggressive comment you could hope to get. For Linus's loved gift responses, he has a special one for 2 different items and then an overall loved gift response. For his overall loved gift response, he says, "This is wonderful, you've really made my day special." And for Stardrop Tea specifically, he says, "This means a lot to me, your name. I'll save it for a quiet day in the tent. Thank you." Then if you give him the alleyway buffet, he says, "I don't usually read books, but this one's right up my alley. Thank you." His loved gifts are as follows. The universal loved gifts and his unique loved gifts of blueberry tarts, cactus fruits, coconut, dish of the sea, the alleyway buffet, and yam. Linus's light gift response is, "This is a great gift, thank you," except if it's most edible foraged items, except for flowers, fruit, seaweed, or vegetables. To which he says, "That's a good find. I'm always happy when eating wild food. Thank you." Linus likes all universal likes except treasure chests, foraged minerals, and gems other than diamond and prismatic shard, all eggs except void egg, all fruit except cactus fruit and coconut, all milk, and all of his unique likes, which are as follows. Chanterelles, common mushrooms, daffodils, dandelions, gingers, hazelnuts, hollies, leeks, magma caps, morels, purple mushrooms, snow yams, spring onions, wild horseradishes, and of course winter root. Note that the following are not considered eggs for gifting purposes. Dinosaur eggs are artifacts, frog eggs and parrot eggs are considered trinkets. For neutral gifts, he responds with, "A gift, how nice." For any fish, he responds with, "Ah, that looks fresh, I'll be eating good tonight." For wild bait, he says, "Let me see, it looks perfect, you're a good student, your name," which is probably because he's the one that teaches you how to get the wild bait recipe, and honestly I think it's really cute that his response reflects that. For disliked gifts, he says, "This doesn't really do much for me." His treasure chest specific response is, "No thank you, I have no desire for money. In fact, I think it's cursed." Linus's disliked gifts are, of course, all universal dislikes except for fish and spring onion, all foraged minerals, all gems except for diamond and prismatic shard, and of course the unique dislike of treasure chests due to his hate of money. He will give you the treasure chest back, by the way, if you try to give it to him. Hated gift response is, of course, "Why would you give this to me? Do you think I like junk just because I live in a tent? That's terrible." His only hated gifts are the universal hates, except for carp and wild bait. On to his movie theater opinions. He dislikes every single movie, which is a pretty easy thing to remember, unfortunately. And he loves salmon burgers and Stardrop sorbet, and dislikes black licorice, Joja Cola, and Joja Corn. He simply likes every other snack. On to his heart events now. Linus is actually a very special villager. He actually has an anytime heart event and a 0 hearts heart event. So at any friendship level greater than 0 friendship points, which is basically just when you introduce yourself, you may receive a gift in the mail from Linus. The chance of receiving a gift in the mail increases as your friendship with Linus increases. For his 0 Hearts event, after you have 50 friendship points with Linus, you can enter the town between 8 p.m. and 12 a.m. on a day that's not raining, and note that this event cannot trigger before Spring 7 of Year 1. To trigger Linus's 3 Heart events, after reaching 3 Hearts with Linus, he will send you a recipe in the mail. For his 4 Heart event, enter the mountain area near his tent between 8 p.m. and 12 a.m. on a day that is not raining. For his 7 Heart event, after reaching 7 Hearts with Linus, he will send you a recipe in the mail. For his 8 Heart event, you just need to exit Robin's house on a day that is not raining between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Linus does have some specialty quests. He has the Blackberry Basket quest, where he sends you a letter on Fall 8 that says that he lost his Blackberry Basket. The reward for returning it to him is 1 Heart of Friendship, aka 250 friendship points. Linus may randomly request an item at the Help Wanted board outside Pierre's General Store as well. The reward is 3 times the item's base value and 150 friendship points. The Community Cleanup quest is also one of Linus's, and it is on the Special Orders board in front of the Mayor's Manor. Linus may randomly request that you collect 20 trash items and place them in the bin at the train platform. The reward is 500 grams of gold, 250 friendship points, aka a Heart of Friendship, and the Fiver Seeds recipe. For trivia, the campfire in front of Linus's tent can be toggled on or off by you. This seems to have no impact on the game, such as special dialogues or an effect on the friendship. Linus does not relight or put out the fire, so if you want it to be turned back on or off, then you have to do that yourself. If Linus sends you a catfish as a gift in the mail, he will say the mountain lake has been kind to him. However, as we all know, catfish cannot be caught in the mountain lake. If the treasure chest is gifted to Linus, he will not accept the gift and will give it back to you. If Linus sees you digging through the garbage cans, instead of losing 25 friendship points with him, you will actually gain 5 friendship points with him. However, the only times that Linus is near a trash can is during the Desert Festival and while walking to the night market on Winter 15th. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Bye!